it feels very sad because you know that you're being targeted, and daily Shias are being killed all over Pakistan, whether it's in Karachi or Quetta or in Peshawar or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or even in parts of Punjab, Gilgit. So if you're a part of the 10 to 20% of Pakistan's population that's Shia, you feel marginalized, victimized. I mean, I would still say that Shias are not completely ghettoized, but already the process is underway to marginalize the Shias from government services, to kill, Shia professionals, doctors, corporate professionals, lawyers, business owners. So it's two ways. There are massacres, and as well as targeted killings of Shias. Yes, it does. It does, because you see, if you look at the pattern of targeted Shia killings, people have been killed at workplaces. They've been killed while dropping their children to school. There's a very tragic incident of Mehzer Zehra, a 12-year-old girl who was shot along with her father, and she's still recovering. She was shot with her father just a couple of months ago, and her father was shot dead. So yes, of course you feel this, especially if you're going to Shia gatherings like majlises during Muharram and Safar, and or even in day-to-day affairs, you do feel very threatened and insecure. It's on the papers because today Nawaz Sharif, who's a leader of Pakistan's second largest political party, the PMLN, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Group, he's actually in an informal coalition with the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Sepah Sahaba, Ahle Sunnat wal Jamaat, which is all these three are actually one organization. So he's in an informal coalition with them, and the Punjab law minister often accompanies the chief of this group called Ludhianvi. He actually canvasses with Ludhianvi for the election. So they are actually going to contest the next elections together. So all these things are on paper. You also have this very horrifying example of Pakistan's current judiciary releasing all these terrorists on the excuse that, oh, there was insufficient evidence. But do you know what, Sheeba? These people go on the court and they say, yes, we have killed 10, 100 people and we've killed more Shias. And yet our Supreme Court says that we have insufficient evidence, even when they're openly and boastfully confessing in court and giving press conferences and appearing in rallies and publishing hate material that we'll do this to Shia, that we will exterminate Shias from Pakistan. And so it's really, the law has become a mockery. True. I'll tell you, yes, in essence, that would be absolutely correct. The military, the judiciary, the military is actually the core reason that we have this issue. The political parties, let's say Imran Khan's political party, which is the PTI, and the Nawaz Sharif's political party, they are in a coalition. So they have, sometimes Imran Khan says the right things, but then he also aligns himself with these people. But the other political parties, the largest party, Pakistan People's Party, has been a big disappointment. They have said a few things. Their elected members have said that this is really bad. 4 or 5 of the elected members have protested on this, but they haven't done anything substantive, and they're pretty much washed their hands. Regional parties like the MQM and ANP, yes, they have said the right things, but again, they haven't done anything substantive. Whereas, so on the one hand, you have the quasi or the semi-secular parties like MQM and People's Party and ANP, which have suffered also. A lot of their people have been killed by the same terrorists, but they have washed their hands of this thing. And then you have political parties like the Tehreek-e-Insaf and Nawaz Sharif's PMLN, which are actually in a coalition with them. So it's a very bad situation. The judiciary has freed all these terrorists, and even after eyewitnesses came and gave testimony. Slowly, yes, because there was this very popular survey that has been quoted And it was not done in, in the rural areas or in lower class income areas. It was done in private universities where your upper middle class and upper class youngsters attend those private universities. Those are expensive universities. More than 50% of them said they don't consider Shias as Muslims.
Exactly. Yeah, I have seen that
And
as well.
yeah, yes, and it gets worse because now I see, I mean, I've experienced some indirect bigotry as a Shia, but let me tell you, I didn't experience this bigotry in, coming from people who are economically disenfranchised. I saw this coming from very well educated, highly educated, very well off people who, who maintain these very bigoted attitudes about not just Shias, but about Ahmadis, about Christians, about Hindus, and it's often they wield it, especially if they go abroad. But these attitudes are very prevalent in Pakistan's educated upper middle class backgrounds, and they're getting increasingly more prevalent because
Oh.
what you have to understand is that by creating these jihadis and by funding them and by giving them a place in society, there's been some reverse indoctrination. So you have these, you have people like Farhat Hashmi. Sorry, I don't mean to, she gives lectures in five-star hotels, and she comes, and most of her audience is upper class educated women. And even there, you can find anti-Shia bigotry, anti-Ahmadi Muslim bigotry prevalent within that class. And it comes down to simple things like, let's say if there is Muharram Niyaz, langar, I've seen educated people refuse to eat that
Oh.
nowadays.
Oh God.
It's not prevalent, but it's gaining ground. Yes. I'll give you the example. Yes, Taseer was killed by one by a crazed, a brainwashed, brainly Sunni, and but do you know some of the media played a horrible role because there was this one show where Taseer was appearing, and the compare was this lady Bukhari. I have the link somewhere, and she basically got him. She basically created such a horrible show where she said, you know what? Tell me that you're against this blasphemy law. Tell me. And she made the way she conducted the show, she basically drew a target on Taseer's back. And, so the media actually played a very horrible role. Let me give you an overview of Pakistan's media. About 10 years ago, during Musharraf's time, a lot of these private channels got their licenses. And some people say that, oh, the media has played a great role. I tend to disagree with them. I think the overwhelming majority of Pakistan's media has played a despicable role. Let me say that again, despicable, because they are the ones who constantly recycle all all the establishment doctrine, all the extreme right-wing doctrine. The majority of the people that they entertain are, generals like Hamid Gul. Hamid Gul is a favorite guest for this media, and they encourage conspiracy theories. They consider unsubstantiated reports, and it's to say anything positive about Pakistan's media is very difficult. And most of this media, the overwhelming bulk of this media is private. It's corporate private media, which is alleged to have defaulted on, doesn't pay taxes. And again, there's a media judiciary sort of understanding where the judiciary bases its judgments and bases its legal proceedings on what the media says, not on what the law is. So the media has played a very horrible role. The people that they entertain, the people who they call to speak, very rarely, very, very rarely do you see them calling sensible people like Professor Pervez Hoodboy, who I think is one of the very, very few sane voices left in Pakistan, in the intelligentsia. So the media rarely has people like him, but they have people like Fareed Paracha and Aulia Maqbool Jan and the Dr. Shahid Masood. One of the chief media guys is Hamid Mir, and Hamid Mir's voice was recorded. There was a story which the newspapers covered also, where his voice recording talking to a Punjabi Taliban was released, and in that he says some horrible things about Ahmadis. So the bigotry is very deeply ingrained, and Pakistan's top media people are deeply compromised people, in my opinion. the only point I like to make is, yes, it's not just names. There is this very chilling video, when they were attacking, they had stopped these buses in Chilas, in the northern part of Pakistan, and they offloaded women and children and old men and shot them dead and thrown them into the river. And there was this very sad video of this old man, and they were lifting the back of his shalwar to see if he had flagellation marks. So they use names, they use scar marks from the Shia practice of flagellation. They also track people to see if they're going to Shia gatherings. So a lot of Sunnis have also been killed simply because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh.
Yeah, and any Sunni leader who's viewed as being sympathetic towards Shias has been killed in the past as well. See, ultimately, till the military establishment does not change its doctrine or strategic depth in Afghanistan, till it does not change itself from its India-centric policy, which is the root cause of funding and tolerating and protecting these militias, which are not just killing Shias, but Sunnis, Ahmadis, Hindus, and Christians. Till that policy is not changed, I don't see any hope.